I really had to kind of get to a place where I realized that my conviction was for a reason, that I wasn't able to feel as comfortable in certain environments and in certain relationships as I see others being, because that's just not the lifestyle that God ordained for me to have. But like during that time, that was where I got closest to God. I got so close to him, like so close. And it was so funny to me because I still wasn't all the way there with like everything that I needed to be doing, you know, and making the right decisions. I just got close to him because I just found my peace.
Yeah.
That's how I knew.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are watching from. Welcome back to the Ray of Light TV podcast. I am here today with such an amazing guest, somebody who is so close to my heart, Miss Lachanee Davis. Hey, La.
Miss Lachanee.
Hey, girl. Hey, Miss Lachanee. I actually started as calling her Miss Lachanee at Rainey, which we'll talk about.
Yes. Thank you, Raven, for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm really excited. I'm nervous excited.
What's one thing you're excited about talking about today?
I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
Just period. I know I've been following your journey for a while, and we've been having this conversation about doing this for a very, like people don't know, but a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be here, period.
So for y'all who don't know, me and Lachanee go way back. We go way back to the streets of EC. No, I'm just joking. We don't go back that far. Me and Lachanee actually met at Rainey. You were the director of dance at the time, right?
Yep, dance program manager at Rainey Institute.
Yeah.
And Raven was one of my, teaching artists.
I was one of her teaching artists. Yes. So I worked with the theater program and I worked with dance. And that's kind of where me and La's initial journey kind of started. We both love dance. Lachanee actually went to school for dance. I went to school for dance for 2 years.
I didn't actually.
You didn't?
Guess what I have my undergraduate in?
What?
Just guess. What would you think? I know you would have said dance. What would you say next?
Management?
Biology.
Girl, bye. I
have my undergraduate. And what is it called? How you say it? Bachelor's of Science in Biology.
What? Yeah. Like, why?
So when I was in high school, I was going to go undecided. But towards my senior year, I got an award for like taking all of the science classes. And so I was like, oh, this must mean that like I'm like, but I really just liked it. Looking back, I really just liked the teachers. I think that's really what it was. And so I went to school for biology. First, I went first for chemistry. Then I changed my major to biology. But my talent was actually hidden in all of that because I was the girl who was like, the party promoter's friend, or like an unofficial girlfriend-ish type of situation. But I would like, low key. But there you go. That's a reveal right there. You put two and two together, you got the answer. But no, like all of the communications and like type of that gift came through like on that end of things. I just didn't know what it was aside from like being in the band. But yeah, I went to school for biology. I used my degree probably for like a solid year. And then when I was working at Caroline's Health Center, the marketing branding, I don't even know what her role was, but she left. And during the time, I was basically kind of shadowing her so I could just learn more to get like my HIV testing numbers up.
Okay.
Because in my role, I was HIV prevention specialist.
Yeah.
And in my role, I had to hit a certain quota. So I was just trying to learn more about marketing just so I can like really get to people to grasp them to like see the severity and the importance of getting tested and come test with me. But when she left, she recommended me to take her role. And so when I got into that role, interim, I was the branding marketing specialist at Caroline's Health Center. So it was, at the time, it was a 4-location clinic. And so like all of the signage, if you see their tag, care for you, care for me, care for all, that's mine. Their wrap around their van, I designed that. Like a lot of those staples at the organization with the marketing part, I got all of my skills there, and then I like really left that print there. So I'm proud of that. And I took all of that knowledge, and that's really what kind of is like the back end fuel for me with my dance company, but also here at the Word Church.
So how in the world did you get into dance?
I've been dancing all my life. I could never stop. Like my grandma used to have this like ditty, like go, what is it? Go nay nay something. I forget what it is, but she would have like this ditty of like just me dancing. And so I actually my first experience with dance, like most of us in the church, was praise dance.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't really that organized. I can remember I would do a lot more like solo performances than anything. But I just loved to dance in that capacity. And then that rolled over into cheer. So I would do community cheer, Glenville Titans, Sims Raiders. I never got to dance with the Chiefs, even though cheer with the Chiefs, even though I lived in East Cleveland for a very long time. And then that rolled over into middle school cheer, high school cheer, probably for like my first half of my freshman year. And then I was just captivated by the dancers of the marching band.
Wow.
And they were more so, I was a freshman, so they were like seniors, juniors, while I was at Shaw. The highlighters at the time is what they called us. And I auditioned for that experience. And the rest is history. So I had been dancing that entire time and transitioned into college. We went on a trip in probably like 2008, I would say, to Alabama State. And I saw the Stingettes, and I saw the Divas, and I heard Pretty Brown Eyes go back and forth, and I was like, I need to do this.
Okay.
Like, I want to do this. And I got to like stand up close and like see the Stingettes, and I'm like, those are grown women. I want to do that. So I still did the due justice of like applying to every school, getting all the acceptance letters, but I knew in my heart, like, I'm going to Alabama State.
So what was it about this particular style of dance that captivated you? Because I know you said you had been dancing for a while, so you did praise dance. I don't know. Did you train during any? Okay.
That was my training. My training was like praise dance. I just couldn't stop moving. Like I was an active mover, but I think cheer got the bulk of my like extracurricular time.
Okay.
Aside from like when I was in 3rd grade, I did karate.
Okay.
Random fact.
But what was it about the Stingettes? What was it about the Stingettes in Alabama State that drew you? You were like, oh, I have to do this.
Well, so that Magic City Classic was my first experience actually seeing.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say Magic City?
Magic City Classic. So it's the biggest. It's one of the biggest classics. Yeah, it's called Magic City Classic, not the strip club.
Got you. I just wanted to clarify.
It was not that Magic City that made me want to dance.
Good.
It was a different one.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So it's the biggest HBCU classic with the Alabama A&M, that band or that football team or that school versus Alabama State University.
Okay.
And so we were there, and I saw the two teams go back and forth. This is my first experience like seeing an HBCU dance team, period. So I went down to the side where the Stingettes were. I think for me, seeing them up close, it was the maturity, but it also had like this raunchiness still like within it. And then being at Shaw, like we kind of, in high school teams, they pull from college teams. And so I think it was just the influence that they had on the high school team. As I started to study the team, I'm like, we do a lot of their choreo already, like their stands and stuff. So it was just kind of natural to like gravitate to that team. Yeah. And even though I applied to go to, or I had the interest of, I can't even say which ones I was accepted to, but I was interested in North Carolina A&T, Golden Delight, the Jackson State, so like the J-Sets. I had some interest in the Divas, but because of that experience, I'm like, nah, like I was automatic, like they're rivals. I can't go there, even though I wasn't going there yet. But it was Alabama State. It was, like I said, it was the ability to like bounce back and forth between like the class, but we can get dirty with it, but we're clean, but we also just look the way we look. And so, yeah, it was a definite no-brainer for me.
Yeah. So did you always know you wanted to go to a HBCU?
When Drumline came out, because I'm that era.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm in my 30s. So when Drumline came out, I saw it in the theaters. And so my grandmother, she leaned over to me and she said, I want you to do that. I want you to do that. And I ain't had no interest in it. So I was like, okay. And I think, honestly, I'm thinking back on it, I think that's what really pushed me more so towards the high school team.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, okay, well, I know they do something similar at my school. Let me look into it, and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so good because I feel like a lot of people, especially from Cleveland, they don't really know about the historically black college university. Like, I feel like I had it instilled in me. My mom went to HBCU. Okay. She went to Tuskegee University in Alabama. Right up the street. Yeah. Right up the street. She always said, you got to go to a HBCU. That's where my money is going. Yeah. Clearly, it didn't go there. But she wanted it to go to a HBCU. Why do you think that more Cleveland people don't want to go back to their roots, go back to a historically Black college and go to maybe a PWI or these other type of schools?
Yeah, I think it's for us. It's not down the street.
Yeah,
Like for a lot of the southern schools and southern communities, it's like right up the street. They can walk out their, front porch and see Southern marching band just marching down the street at rehearsal.
It's the culture.
It's the culture. It's a lot different. You have to go way farther in order to kind of get those experiences. Aside from like a Central and a Wilberforce, and nothing's wrong with that, but their programs aren't also like the other programs of like a Southern or like a Southern school, or even towards the East Side where there's like a Howard and a Hampton, or even a North Carolina A&T. So I think we definitely have great programs. What's it called? HBCU Alumni Council, and even like our D9 fraternities and sororities here in the city, especially on a grad level. I think we try our best. Culture is just different. It's just different. We need another like drumline or something.
Yeah. So can you walk me through the process of how a girl from East Cleveland brought the culture of that HBCU life back home with Buckout? Because if people don't know, you have a nonprofit organization, Buckout Cleveland, that specializes in bringing that HBCU culture to high school age girls so that they can have a chance to go to a North Carolina A&T or a Clark or a Tuskegee or these different opportunities that they may not see or know that they can do more than go to Tracy or go to Akron. What was the heart behind that?
Me, when I went to school, I didn't make it my first time, actually, when I went to Alabama State. I
make it as in school?
Make the team.
The team.
Make
okay.
the
audition.
Yeah, the audition. Now, mind you, I'm a dancer, so like my mind is focused more so on the team than it is the school. I'm an honor student, so I always felt like I can go to any school I want to.
Big bio major.
Yeah, like I can go to any school I want to. I take schooling seriously. I'm not gonna waste nobody's money. Whatever school I go to, I know I'm going to excel. But for me, I knew the extracurricular activity afterward was going to be the important part for me. And so I didn't make the team auditioning for Alabama State in 2012. It wasn't until after that experience where, I'm sorry, not 2012, 2011. I always say 2012 because that's the year that I made the team. So it's like, it's so crazy. Your trauma kind of erases certain experiences. But 2011, I didn't make the team. I got to know people on campus, those individuals that were previously on the team or currently on the team. I joined a dance company on campus. Shout out to Eclectic Dance Company. And I trained a bit more. Like I told you, I didn't have any like formal training. And so knowing that and having that knowledge coming back, a lot of the community teams, the coaches around here first started like with Warrensville, then like the Maples. Of course, I came home to Shaw, but that was a different story even with that. But being able to just help, they were asking like, well, what did you do? What did it look like? How did it happen? And so the workshops kind of came from there, and the conversations kind of started, and then the partnerships with like the HBCU Alumni Council. I became, I'm an HBCU alum, so that my passion was there first with the schools, and then the workshops and the company came after.
How many of your girls have gone to HBCUs as a result of Buckout?
So we actually have had more partnerships with like local after school programs and middle school, elementary programs that we actually have with high school programs. So I can probably count on both hands like how many girls have like gone off. There's the Amarianas, the Sydneys. I have a Honeybee under my belt. I have a Stingette under my belt, prayerfully too, because we have 2 more going in the fall, going off to school, the Teresas. I can name them like off the bat of my hand because we don't have, like I said, our high schools aren't really pushing the HBCUs more so. And I think it comes back down to the HBCUs themselves. You don't see a lot of scholarships for dancers. You don't see a lot of like big scholarships for HBCUs in general. Honestly. So there's a bigger fight than just like the dance teams. Like I'm like, okay, I understand why you settled on, not settled, but you landed on Cincinnati. Versus, another HBCU because the resources are there. So it's not a lot, I can say. It's not as many as I would have hoped, but the girls that go and venture, they are successful. I haven't really had any no's as far as when I'm saying like my auditions, when my girls go, I'm like, my auditions, we get yeses around here.
I love that. A part that I want to dig a little bit deeper into is the way you talk about Buckout and the way you talk about founding this nonprofit. You just say it so it's just you. It's just a part of who you are. But I feel like it took a lot of courage, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, probably a lot of no's to do something like this. How did you kind of push past that to start this organization? Like, how?
Yeah. Let me tell you, everything God does is so intentional. I never really thought about it. Like, I say it so casually and so nonchalant because it was like, like it's it's almost like it was supposed to happen the way that it did. I've never had a job, I'll say that, even like, you know, some people have the experience of like, oh, my first job was like a McDonald's or like a grocery store. I've never not worked at a nonprofit. My first job at 16 was at Hathaway Brown as a junior teacher for the Aspire program. And then in East Cleveland. And then in East Cleveland with their summer camp, and then straight to Carolines, and then straight to a Rainey Institute, and then, you know, straight to founding my own organization, and then straight to the Word Church. So I've never had an experience outside of just a nonprofit. I don't really know organizations that are outside of that. Buckout was an LLC for a solid like less than a year. And I was like, no, we need to change this thing around. And then I created the nonprofit, and then I merged the two because I found myself running two businesses because there's two different regulations. And so getting them on the same page, that was a lot of work. And then also trying to find the funding to like open the studio. We started our like first studio location was actually in Euclid. I think it was like Shore Culture Center. It used to be a high school that they converted into like this arts building. Yeah. And so one of the classrooms, probably as big as this room, was my first studio. It was like purple and blue and all these different colors. But as bad as it's going to sound, I thank God for the pandemic. Yeah. I'm one of the people who like really benefited from that. People poured donations to kind of try to keep our doors open, and that allowed us to open a 3,000 square foot location right outside of downtown, and that's where we reside today. And so I'll say that the biggest challenge, of course, was opening those first doors, trying to get that money and get those resources so we can do those consistent trainings. But like I couldn't stop. I would get off work and I would go across the street to Shameless Studio. Shout out to Bree Smith and her husband, Relationships Restored and all that beautiful stuff. Her studio was the first location. I couldn't help it. It was like I felt like I was supposed to do this. I always act like, why couldn't I just be one of those people who just sat still, like just went to work and just got off work and then that's it. Like it just never came naturally for me to do that. Yeah.
So it just is a part of who you are.
It's just really a part of who I am.
Yeah. Was there any type of like mentorship that cultivated that?
For sure.
Yeah. What did that look like?
For sure. I would go back to the Breeze and just seeing her do what she was doing with Shameless Studios. Shanae Frazier from Body Rocks in Euclid. We had a barter agreement where I would like teach my workshops in their summer 17, but I would like teach her kids.
Love a good
and
barter.
Yep, and do the hip hop classes for them. Miss Sharam Marshall, just awesome, just mentor just who she is, our conversations, and just how like we kind of just speak boldly with each other of like Cleveland has this thing where we don't really invest in the arts like that. As far as like individuals and like families. I think honestly that's my biggest hurdle today of like, hi, we have a showcase tomorrow. You're going to pay your balance so your daughter can dance. You know, like different stuff like that. It's probably the biggest hurdle.
That's so good.
But like having those real conversations and it's just seeing the Shanaes like convert and be like, I'm as an entrepreneur being smart. I'm closing my studio to create a rental space because the demand isn't there. And having those tough conversations. Those are my biggest mentors aside from my big sisters that I dance with, you know, as a stingette, I would say like within the city. So just tapping in and being humble enough to say, hey, can I take you to lunch so I can pick your brain to learn from you so how I can be successful and just see what you're doing.
If somebody wanted to partner with a Buckout or a movement dance company, how could they do that? Partner financially?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So yeah, websites, movement.space. Actually, Buckout officially changed its name last Friday. So we are now Movement Dance Co. And that is within basically as a result of our merge. So about 19, I saw the Diamond Dancers on YouTube, and I reached out to Jasper, who is like now my best friend, honestly. He has called me twice since I've been sitting here. Probably was like, what are you doing? But I reached out because I was trying to find a way for Buckout to offer a consistent dance program. And I was in love with the Diamond Dancers and just what they're doing with their pieces and everything. And so I'm trying to make this story as short as I can. But our relationship has started to kind of like do this. Mm-hmm. And then it became to a point where like he became the creative director of like Buckout dance programs, and I became the executive director of his nonprofit. And we're like, why are we running two businesses? Why are we doing this? Yeah. So it's been a years long journey of us merging. And one of the first couple of steps was to dissolve the entity as it was in Illinois, because Buckout Cleveland had already started this like reputation and this name and this relationships with these funders. Right. And we'll just change the name of this one and then create the articles of incorporation in Illinois so that we can just be one entity. So the first two steps are done. So I say all that to say you can visit movement.space to learn more about how you can donate and or just partner in any way. We have a variety of different programs. Our away dance camp, which will be in Cleveland this year. It's gonna be excited. She was girly. in the first year of away dance camp. And I'm gonna be there this year too. And then we have the Diamond Movement, which is our dance company that has 4 divisions from 5 to adults. Buckout is just going to be a program offered underneath Movement, which will be utilized to help dancers to pursue dance careers at HBCUs. We have a few programs, but you'll learn more about them there. And if you want to get in touch with me, Lachanne at movement.space, I can get you all the info that you need. Yeah.
So making big boss moves with your own business, running a lot of stuff at a major nonprofit in Cleveland, the Word Church, doing all this other stuff. The question everybody wants to know, how do you balance it all?
I'm still learning.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still learning. I really am. I think for me, what I just did recently, this is like super duper fresh too. This is probably less than 2 weeks old. Around the time that I actually had to hop off social media for a little bit just so I could focus. But I took this calendar and I like looked at every day of the week, and I know that a few areas are important to me. Movement and the Word Church are going to happen naturally because those are my jobs. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even put them on the calendar. But what I put on there was my personal devotion time. And I had to really say, don't just say personal devotion. Yeah. Is it going to happen in the morning or is it going to happen at night? It's never going to happen in the middle of the day for me. So I had to pick what days are going to like, in order for it to happen every day, what days are going to be my morning devotion time and what days are going to be my evening devotion time. Evening devotion comes more naturally the days that I'm getting off work earlier. Same. Morning devotion comes on, more naturally the days that I'm working a bit later. Then what days am I going to spend time with family? What days am I going to spend time with my friends or follow up with my friends? What days do I need to seriously be paying my bills? Like different stuff like that. I had to really just put everything in a category, in a box, but also not put too much pressure on myself if I didn't get those things done. Mm. So for instance, Friday are my days I'm supposed to pay my bills. I did not do those yesterday at all. Okay. But I know they're going to happen. Yes. If they have to happen, they're going to happen this weekend. And what's going to make them happen is I'm not going to spend any money for real until I pay my bills because I don't know what I'm really spending. And so I said that to say I had to like really look at each day of the week and just figure out how I can get in the time that's important to me. Yeah. Because when I don't have time with my friends, when I don't have time with my family, when I don't get in my personal devotion time, I notice that I lose balance, period. I feel off balance. And so if I don't make time for those things, then my balance doesn't really come into play. Yeah. But one thing, hold on, cheat code. Mondays for sure are my week. I call it my week at a glance, where I kind of sit there and I look at everything that I need to do this week. I try to commit to 3. Just give me 3 that I'm going to get done, because those big projects are going to fall into smaller tasks that I have to get done with. Like nothing is like as small as, email the entire congregation. Like, while that sounds like one task, that's a project, because what graphics have to go into that? What signups need to be done? What video do I need from Phil to get, completed in order to go into that big project, So having that time to look at my entire week at a glance and divide it up into what needs to happen for the Word Church, what needs to happen for myself, and then what needs to happen for movement. Yeah. And I include myself because you skate past that. You'll look up and you have not renewed your tags, right? Or made your doctor's appointment or did any of that because you haven't made time for yourself. Yeah. And so just trying to figure out what needs to happen throughout the week. That keeps me on balance.
That's good. And I know we share on Instagram all the time different project management tools for ADHD and how to figure those out. Yeah, we do that. I want to park at what you said about your morning devotional. So I know that we know you as the dancer, the everything, now working at the Word Church. People may think that your life has been kind of linear. And, different nonprofits working, it seems like God was always working, and he was. But there were times when you maybe fell short or you weren't doing it. Can you talk to us about your faith journey? Because actually when I met you, you were not in the place of faith that you are in now. Yeah. What you were struggling.
Barely.
You was hanging on by a thread. Barely. Like a lot of us were. Yeah. So what did that look like?
And I even feel like around the time when you could really tell by like the fruit I was bearing. I was very more like impatient. I was not even like in purpose. I just like, and I love Rainey. Don't get me wrong. I feel like their mission is amazing, but I wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Shout out to Brandon.
Yeah. Shout out to just everybody there. Honestly, I love them to death. But I feel like that was a moment of purpose, but I wasn't in purpose. I probably was. Maybe at that time, learning the knowledge that I had, but my patience was very thin. I was very short with people. I was more so just like, really what's in it for me right now so I can just hurry up and get off work. Yeah. Like, I just want to just get out of here and like go do whatever else it is that I needed to do. But around that time, I was just in a very different space. I've always known Jesus. He's always known me, of course. I don't feel like I've always known him. Yeah. In a sense, I had the relationship that we have where my morning devotional might not look like me literally, in some days it might. Me on my knees with the lights down and the music and the incense and like just all of that and just in silence. It might just look like me in a car like, all right, God, like what we got to do today? Like, I did not speak to her. Okay, like we are literally, I feel like I'm in partnership. I feel the closest, honestly, to God while I'm in my car, because I feel like that's the person literally sitting in the passenger seat with me, even though he's the one behind the wheel. Yeah. But I say all that to say that I really had to kind of get to a place where I realized that my conviction was for a reason, that I wasn't able to feel as comfortable in certain environments and in certain relationships as I see others being, because that's just not the lifestyle that God ordained for me to have. Around the time that I first met you, I was married to my wife, my ex-wife, who I'm great friends with now. I literally called her before I got here just to check on her, just to see how everything's going. We've been talking all week. She had a loss in family that was actually very close to me, but that wasn't where God ordained me to be. I wasn't supposed to be there. And I really had to realize that, well, one, it wouldn't work. We just could not find peace at all. Like, no matter what we did, it couldn't really agree on like a lot of things. We'll go good for a few weeks and then boom. Good for a couple months and then boom, you know what I mean? Or just even in moments of intimacy, like sexual intimacy, where I'm literally I can't bring myself to a point of pleasure because my mind wouldn't let me. And I'm not even gonna sit there and lie and be like, God was like, but now I look back on it, I know the Holy Spirit was literally trying to just rock my world and be like, you can't be comfortable here. Yeah. You just can't. Down to the week before we got married. Wow. We just were never in a comfortable space. Yeah. And so realizing that those moments of uncomfortability were really because the Holy Spirit was just trying to like really get my attention. And I think I felt that more as I was trying to build my relationship more. We never stopped. We were always here. We were here. We were coming to church. We would come to church together. We would dismiss as soon as possible. We would never hit that corner or hit that line. You know what I mean? Never really interact with anybody. We knew we were the gay couple kind of like coming to church. And I know we weren't the only ones, but just because it's just like, just No, but we will always be in our word. We will always be here. We will hear everything Pastor Vernon would say. You know, we would never talk about it, but I would have my own personal time with it. And I'm sure she probably had hers, you know, but we were just two different ends of the spectrum of like, I'm the feminine, you know. So naturally for me, like men are in my history. Men are where I'm naturally like more, I would say honestly attracted to, but I'm in this relationship with somebody that I fell in love with, you know. But you look past that once you kind of like say I do, and that's a slippery slope, like period, for anybody, because now you feel like I gotta make this work. I gotta like make it. And it's just like for almost 5 years of my life, I was in this marriage, 6, 7 of us being together, but that's a long time, Ray. Where it just like really it wasn't working, but instead of us like calling it quits, we kind of really held on to the fact that we were legally married.
How did you get out of it?
It just started. When I say I thank God for the pandemic, I mean that in like so many different ways. You know, those are like the highest rates of like divorce and everything. And so us being trapped and this home together, like really was like the beginning of the end for us in that capacity. And it just got bad. It just got really, really bad. We always kind of had this trail of like our altercations were not healthy at all. We're two women, so we can't keep our hands to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I think the pivotal moment for me was like the top of 2021 where she like lost her mind and like threw all my stuff out the house. And I was like, oh, nah. Nah, I ain't even. And even after that, we like had our moments of like, I forgive you, da, 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 but it was just still like.
Too much.
Because when you cross a certain boundary, I mean, we have been through a lot. We have been through so much. When you cross a certain boundary of like, dag, these are my, and it was, I knew for me it was a wrap because I didn't react. I just kind of like watched it happen.
Wow.
Like I just watched like all my stuff.
You
like,
had normalized that.
I had like kind of just been like, oh, okay.
Outrageous behavior.
Yeah, this is cool. Because by the time it happened, I already had an apartment. I had an apartment. So I picked up all my stuff and I ain't flip or nothing. Like I went to my new apartment. And that was like the beginning of me moving in because I knew, you know what I mean? Like when you get to talking about, oh, maybe we should like just be separate for a while. I'm like, I didn't have to do much. You know, her heart became hard and God hardened her heart to like make me be like, okay. Because I ain't going to have nobody treat me this way, regardless of what it was. And then that moment of me living, I was in a 4-unit apartment in East Cleveland at the top of Superior, right next to Coventry. I was like in the depth, of the hood. But I was the most at peace.
That's so good.
That was my first time living by myself.
I'd rather have peace than poopy.
I was so at peace. I think about that apartment all the time. And like even the position of like the lighting in the apartment, you know how if you like, even right now where we are with the lights off, if it's no windows, there's like no light, like kind of like coming in. That was like the apartment. It was like light everywhere. So I was naturally waking up. I was naturally in my word, like just everything. I can just even feel like the peace of it, like right now. Like it's just so hard to explain. But like during that time, that was where I got closest to God. I got so close to him, like so close. And it was so funny to me because I still wasn't all the way there with like everything that I needed to be doing, you know, and making the right decisions. I just got close to him because I just found my peace.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. And so it wasn't even like I just had to escape or like get out of it or like, nah, it was just like she lost her mind. I moved out and we just never kind of repaired it. And so the end of it all was really just me just kind of like choosing myself and being like, no, I'm straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that testimony gives all glory to God because it's not like you just wanted to leave. It's not like you just wanted to do it. And even like you said, you was in the depths of the hood, but God still met you there.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
He still loves you. That just speaks to the kind of God that he is.
For sure.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely met me there. And even after that, like my college girlfriend, I tried to have a new relationship with her. That didn't work out because I felt like my next relationship, I wanted it to be my last. I wanted it to be the relationship that where like I found my like everything. And so us like trying to even go through that or like have a new relationship, the conviction was on me mainly because I didn't want to waste her time.
Are you still in the dating streets, or are you single and satisfied, as our pastor loves to say?
I'm not gonna say satisfied, but if it's another category, I'm like single and content. Is that the same thing? It's not the same thing, because I do I want to, but I'm not like like I'm cool. I'm having to take steps back like now, right? Because even though I'm in my 30s, I'm still learning myself. You have to learn yourself. I feel like a lot of decisions I made in my life, I didn't know myself. Boom. So my first girlfriend, I feel like probably was mainly because I was like at a school where everybody was gay. You know what I mean? Around me, you know, trying to do what my line sisters was doing, or like other people were doing. And I feel like I just kind of like fell like into that, not really knowing myself, or even taking the time to know myself, or even saying you ain't got a date right now, you don't got to be with nobody right now, you don't have to do that, you know. And I think that's the biggest one, more so for me, because I've been through so much like relationship stuff. But then as I look at the pattern of like my family, you know, my mom is single, my grandmother is single, my grandmother died single, you know, and before that she had a girlfriend, you know, like, so like the pattern of like the cycles of things that you say that those are like generational curses. If you look at them and like really analyze, like, dang, I'm broke, my uncle broke, my mama and them broke, everybody broke. It's a generational curse, you know. So taking a step back and say, okay, well, you have to learn yourself, right? See the patterns of your lineage, learn yourself, figure out what can you do to be different so that you don't fall into what everybody else around you is doing. If you know that finances are like a burden for you and your family, then you seeing them $200 pair of shoes, you got to be the one to make a difference. You know, and I think that that's just a big difference of where I am right now versus where I was before. Is I will always kind of just do things based on what other people were doing around me. So being a follower. So don't be a follower. And you can naturally do that. You can naturally do that in times you don't even realize it. You might not even have an opinion or a perception about something until you hear somebody else talking about it. That's your opinion. Like, is it really your opinion, or did you hear somebody else saying that?
And especially in the dance community, I feel like it's so natural to be like bisexual, or to be homosexual, or to be whatever. Like, it's the culture of it. Are you still in any type of relationship with women, just for the clarification of the podcast?
No, I'm not.
So you can be delivered.
No, I'm not.
You can be delivered.
Listen, I'm gonna say it's always based on what you choose to do and how you interact. So it's a choice. Like what they say for men, like it's not a sin to, not even for men, but like it's not a sin to like look at women, but it's the lust and it's the act and the action. Like, oh man, I want da 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 da. Like, I look at women and I think that they are amazingly beautiful and gorgeous. And sometimes, like, the same way we echo, like, girl, cover that up for men. It's like, for me too. Like, can you please? Like, because like, Jesus Christ, you know, I'm just saying, but I'm not gonna act on it. You know,
love the transparency.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm not gonna act on it, but that's also, it's not even really about, again, it's not just about, it's sin in general.
Thank y'all for watching today's episode with Lachanee. We're going to definitely do a part 2 because there's some things that have come up that we need to talk about more in depth, yes. But until then, please follow me on Instagram at the Ray of Light Pod, or at RAVNLYNN on Instagram. Follow us. And then Lachanee's.
Oh, sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Lachanee, LACHANEE.Monique. So at Lachanee.Monique.
Love y'all.
Love you.